liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Newberry.
Here.
Crowner.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lees.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Okay. At this point, I'd ask for a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next thing on our agenda is the consent agenda. I would, go ahead.
Motion to approve as presented. Support.
Motion and support. This is a roll call vote, so I'll ask Kelly to do the roll call.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Motion carries. Go to our reports. Administrator?
Just a couple items tonight, Your Honor. Community visioning. We've met with Homestead 1839. What was the date? September 28th will be our next visioning session on site. Looking forward to that as well. The trail we continue to work on. I received most of the property acquisition documentation today. The letting will be December. We did firm that up, and continue to talk to the coffee shop about best options for their location going forward. Just a reminder, Iowa League of Cities is September 20th through the 22nd. ICMA is the 29th through October 4th. And the plant will be having a meeting scheduled for community members to get an update on the projects that are out there. Was it $1.9 billion in total, I believe was the number they indicated Tuesday morning. So there will be an upcoming meeting date to be determined on that as well. And they have not heard anything new on the solar while we're talking about the plant. So I'll be meeting with the Lieutenant Colonel in the near future, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Public Works?
Doing a lot of mowing we shouldn't be doing this time of year. The grass is supposed to be brown, but was working with Des Moines County Conservation. I want to give a thanks out to them for their help of cutting brush and getting us a path down to Isaac Walton with our stormwater issue. We were able to get a pump in there and pump that hole down enough to get a shot off the bottom of the line so we know the height. Made contact with the railroad. I'm going to try and get them in here as soon as possible for their inspection on the culvert. We'll set up the day before, pump that empty, so that was the next step to find out what shape the culvert's in, and just trying to still move forward with that to stop the flooding coming back into West Burlington. So we're moving forward and getting somewhere with it, so I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good, thank you. Police Department?
Yeah, I got one thing. Just remind everybody that school's starting next week, both college and local schools. We just need to be careful of all the kids out. Increased activity at the schools. Remind them about the park. That was Brad. Parking at the schools. Obey all traffic signage and everything up there on Ramsey Street, and then you have increased traffic coming in and out of SEC on Gear and Agency, so we want to make sure everything's good there too.
Thank you. Anything from Clerk's office? Thank you. Finance? Thank you. Other staff reports? Okay, if not, then we'll go to council. Melanie?
Just a shout out, I think the work the DOT's probably been doing on the ditch has made a difference. That recent big heavy rainfall we had seemed to have a positive impact on the drainage in our backyard. So that's
Ours
very
also.
anecdotal, but it's something's making a difference, so thanks. That's all I got.
Therese?
No, I have nothing.
Thank you. John?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Andy?
Kelly, do we have a date for that next event? I know you said September 28th for the visioning meeting, but is there an event planned?
All of that will be the event. It'll be a public event, and we'll have it at the Homestead, 1839, September
Okay.
28th,
That's what I thought. When you said it was here, I was like, wait a minute. I
from
thought,
5 to 7.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
We'll be
public,
sending out more details later, but we kind of,
okay, and that'll be public,
yeah.
open, okay,
Open to the public, yes.
okay. And then I just wanted to thank Chief Sean Ryan for his service to the community. Thank you very much.
Kathy?
Nothing today.
Thank you. I only have the information that the League of Cities is having their conference September 20th through the 22nd, and we have a city council meeting listed for the 20th. We might want to consider moving that. It would be my recommendation to move it to the 27th, which would allow the people who've attended the conference to give a feedback to the rest of the council about what they've learned or picked up from that conference. So at least keep it on your radar that that's what we probably should do. We can wait, but I thought I'd let you know on that one. Also, I believe we have our National Guard unit being deployed. Does anybody know on that?
Just what I've read in the paper.
I got a phone call today. They are holding a thing on September 16th at 9 a.m. at SCC. It's on a Saturday for the deployment. I sent out an email to my staff, and I think I sent it to Greg today for his weekly update. So he'll probably put that out on Friday, just asking for city officials or anybody to show up and send them off. It'll be at 9 a.m. on that Saturday. I think it's the 16th out of SCC. So you would be correct about that. I just got a phone call on that this morning.
Thank you. And with that, then I will move on to our citizen inquiries. Anything that is brought up for citizen inquiries should pertain to upcoming activities or new business that we have, so.
I would ask a little leeway, given I've served this community for 23 years.
Sure. Would you?
I'm going to stand if you don't mind. It's a little easier on my hips and knees. Those of you that don't know me in the audience, I'm Sean Ryan. I've worked for the city for 23 years. And it's amazing how it only took 2 minutes to erase those 23 years. Yeah, but it's easier to point out shortcomings than it is accomplishments. And yet some people's values never discussed or even acknowledged. I started for the city in September 5th of 2000. In less than 10 months, I was promoted to the rank of sergeant for the police department. I served as firearms instructor and a rifle instructor for the state. I'm only one of 22 in the state of Iowa that has the distinction of being known as 9/11 instructor. Matter of fact, the Law Enforcement Academy recently commented that I'm one of the best firearms instructors they ever had. I taught Alice to the high school and elementary for several years before stepping away in 2015 at the rank of assistant police chief. I investigated crimes, made arrests, was stabbed, bitten, punched, kicked, spit on, and verbally assaulted, amongst other things, in this community. I testified in court, and in 28 years, never once was I accused or charged with lying or perjury or any other crime for that fact. I served with honor. My reports were so well documented and written, I earned convictions based on them alone. I saved several lives in this community by applying CPR, counseling drug addicts and helping them, and talking to psychiatric patients in their time of need. I also delivered the death notifications to several family members and friends in this community, Dave Wannenberg's wife being one of them that I delivered the message to. I joined your fire department in February 2004 while still serving as a police sergeant. I tested for each promotion I received, from firefighter to captain to battalion chief. In 2010, when Chief Mike Heim took over, I took a test in 2011, was promoted to battalion chief, ranking the highest out of all of your applicants. I spent 8 to 10 hours a day maintaining the equipment and then working my 8 to 12-hour police shift each night, and weekends were spent training newer members. I've served as the president of the association for the firefighters here in town, as well as treasurer for the Iowa Society of Fire Service Instructors. I taught firefighter classes at Cedar Fire School in Cedar Rapids and other area departments, and I initiated the testing of equipment before making any purchasing decisions to find out the best option, not only to save the lives of our firefighters here in town, but more importantly, its citizens. I sought out new or advanced techniques and attended training for each of those, and then incorporated what was learned into this fire department. In 2015, it was myself and his landlord who found Chief Heim deceased, and I was the one that had to notify his family. Again, that burden was placed on me. In July of the same year, I was appointed active fire chief by then Mayor Trousel, and in August I was serving as building inspector, fire chief, and assistant police chief, doing all 3 jobs until we hired Chief Logan for my position at assistant police chief, which I believe was the end of October. The new Menards, their addition to their storage, their second edition, SCC's Health Science, Natural Sciences, Blackhawk Tower, Student Center, multiple remodels, interior remodels, the Kids Zone Edition, Quick Care, 5 acres of solar array, Greenway Rentals, transformation into a parking lot and refurbishment of the entire store into the pet food store it is now, the Homestead transformation from the old barn, Fastenal's Edition, Cars parking lot, Consolidated Freight's parking lot in addition, multiple remodels at Walmart, KPI Concepts remodel and upgrades, along with numerous other upgrades in this community and new buildings I have overseen. And that's just a few of them. I've improved this community's appearance, and after 16 years, when I became the building inspector, I got rid of that blue tarp that sat on the roof of the garage just a block away from here that I saw every day when I came in and worked as a police officer. I cleaned up properties along West Burlington that sat collecting junk for over 15 years while I was a cop. I removed 2 nuisance homes that were in place for over 15 years, and in their place now stands a beautiful new house that has improved the value of the neighborhood. I cleaned up and improved Holt Camp Repair, property that was ignored from the time it was purchased in 2007, but yet I was expected to have it cleaned up in a matter of days. And yet my favorite was Larry Beckman's. Since 1978, this city dealt with Larry Beckman. 3 other inspectors never got anything improved. Again, I was expected to have it resolved overnight, but it took me 2.5 years to get that done, and now it is done. Nuisances were left ignored or unchecked for upwards of 30 years, and when I was given the time and resources, I got them resolved. I got them resolved, just not at the pace some compelled. I closed down the city's rental house. Yes, I did, because there were numerous violations inside that house that existed since it was opened up, exposed wiring being one of them. Caspian Village, same problem, exposed wiring, and yet my first inspection of it, I cited them for it, and it's been resolved. There's always issues, real or perceived, at any of the rentals, and I took care of what I legally could. The rental list was a shambles when I took over, and I was allowed to hire a part-time employee of my choosing, and the building department greatly improved and increased its efficiency. And then that individual was removed, and I wasn't allowed to replace them with an employee of my choosing. With the loss of that assistance, it created more work for me, and with the added growth in the city and my duties, it became a lot of work for just one person. That dual role was talked about being changed into 2 separate positions when Chief Heim was here. And that would have worked, but it was never afforded an option to me. As far as everything's been told to me, my job as fire chief has never been an issue. Now you're faced with hiring someone for both positions, and last time that generated only 3 applicants. Given the expected duties now, I predict it'll be more difficult. Your fire department, I took it over in 2015, and I should have had $140,000 on a SAFER grant, yet I had almost $400,000 that had to be spent in a matter of 18 months. My officers and I worked with FEMA, and we were able to get that accomplished. We were an ISO Class 4 under my direction when I took over, and I improved that to an ISO Class 3, saving the residents, businesses, and industries in this community thousands of dollars each year in insurance monies. Under my direction, I envisioned and have worked on building a fire training service center that has worked extremely well in improving the capabilities of your firefighters that serve this community and others. I upgraded the station doors to include safety lights to eliminate any backgate accidents that may happen at the station. I take members to FDIC each year to help them grow and develop as firefighters or officers, and provide classes for them and connections for them so that they might learn and grow as firefighters themselves. We went from a 2 to 3 paragraph specification for buying new apparatus to almost 300 pages when we send out a specification for new apparatus, and I spearheaded that. And as a result, you have Tower 1, Engine 1, both of which I had a fundamental part in designing. Members have always gotten to have a say in how things affect them and how they're designed as well. Proudly, this department has kept its number of in-town structures to less than 2 per year average under my leadership. No injuries, no lives lost. Yet we did lose one life, and that subject took their own life. And I was faced with the decision, me alone, on letting them burn to death in order to save the lives of the citizens of this town and my firefighters. Members I've trained and led have gone on to serve Burlington, St. Louis, and other departments, and tragically, I lost a close friend and firefighter to a motor vehicle accident, and that's something a true leader never gets over, and it affects me to this day. I've served on the 911 board, helping lead the drive to upgrade all the radios for the departments in this county for fire. And I've also served as a county firefighter's appointee on the Des Moines County Advisory Board. I personally went to each and every department in this county when I was made chief and apologized for the misgivings, misunderstandings, and wrongdoings that were in the past, and let them know that we wish to work with them. And to this day, we continue to improve on that. I worked through false allegations of having an affair and drinking on the job, fabricated allegations which caused marital strife in my personal life and greatly affected my performance and health. And last year I had a heart attack attributed to my level of stress. On the second day of my recovery, I was advised, don't worry, things are being taken care of, and take my time and recover. Yet on the third day, I was asked when I was going to get an inspection completed on the Southeast Iowa Regional Bus Barn so they could begin using their building. I came in and did it on my 4th day after surgery. A month later, I was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety, and I've begun treatment for that. 23 years of loyal service can't be outweighed by accusations. Complaints that can't be substantiated, nor are they signed, which is a direct violation of my rights as a peace officer and as a firefighter or fire chief under Iowa law. Rather than working with me to address those issues or reassign me to just the role of fire chief at a reduced pay rate, you're now faced with hiring someone for both positions and training them. I would ask you to take time and consider placing me in the role of just fire chief at a reduced pay rate and allowing me to continue protecting and serving this community that I moved to and have loved for the last 23 years. I don't say this for sympathy, and I definitely don't say it as any excuse. I bring it up since many never look at the greatness one provides and does. They're only fixated on the faults, they're only fixated on the faults, alleged or otherwise. I appreciate your time. I know I've always said 5 minutes, and this has taken approximately 10. I do appreciate the fact you allowed me to speak at this time, and I appreciate being allowed to serve this community with honor and dignity. I appreciate the men and women that I have led under the fire department and that I worked with on the police department and with the county associations as well. It has been an honor and a source of pride to be with them and serve with them with dignity and class. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other community inquiries? If not, I'll go on to new business. We have a consideration for contribution toward the Greater Burlington Partnership Partnering for the Future campaign, and I believe we have a presentation for City Council.
Good evening. I'm Della Schmidt from the Greater Burlington Partnership. Do you need me to use this mic? Does that help?
It helps.
Okay, fabulous. I believe in your packets you have the Partnering for the Future Priorities document. Does anyone need copies of that this evening?
Do you have an extra one, Della? I'll take one since you brought them. I like my paper, thank you.
Thank you. With me this evening is Jeremy Hess, our Director of Economic Development at the Greater Burlington Partnership. Again, my name is Della Schmidt, President and CEO. I'll be brief because it's a beautiful evening outside, so please don't be scared by all those bullet points, but I'm going to briefly cover who the Greater Burlington Partnership is, a little bit about history and past campaigns, and most importantly, what we're proposing to focus on in the future. So as a reminder, the Greater Burlington Partnership is comprised of 5 divisions. We have the Chamber of Commerce, Burlington, West Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce, Grow Greater Burlington, which is our Economic Development Division, Downtown Partners, Inc., which is a Main Street program with the state of Iowa, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, sometimes referred to as the CVB, and the Burlington, West Burlington Area Development Foundation. It is the Development Foundation that all Partnering for the Future revenues are collected, and they are the watchdog to hold accountable the usages of those funds and ensuring that we are accomplishing the goals that we promised to work on. So in 2019 was our last campaign, and we had, again, a 5-year priority list. They included transforming the talent pipeline. That resulted in more than 1,800 students attending 5th and 8th grade career fairs, more than or nearly 4,000 students attending STEM festival participants, and a plethora of new programming that was introduced, such as CEO in the Classroom, which was actually started first in the West Burlington School District. We now are in every 8th grade classroom throughout Des Moines County, public and private. In addition, under economic development, our organization has led the efforts and facilitated the creation of more than 300 new jobs and more than $225 million in capital investments. Jeremy Hess may have some more things that he wants to say about that later. Some of those projects, of course, were here in West Burlington. Community enhancement. We have had more than $49 million in new downtown investments on Burlington through the Main Street program, and we recently commissioned a housing needs study and committee, of which City Administrator Greg Monsager was a member of. We do have challenges and opportunities still facing our area. Decreasing population, which has been a theme for a few decades, continues to be a concern. Des Moines County is still declining in its residents, falling from 42,300 in 2000 to 38,500 in 2021. There continues to be pressure on workforce between changes in technology, aging workforce, and shortage of workers who have the skills alignment with the open jobs. It continues to be a challenge for our local business. And coupled and closely related to that is housing. Limited inventory directly impacts our ability to grow our population, to attract outside talent for relocation, and makes it difficult to attract and retain the youth who want to stay or who want to return. So as we look to the next 5 years, we have 3 primary areas of focus, and I found it interesting when reviewing the goals for the West Burlington. Looks like you adopted some recent goals and found them on your website, and thank you to Andy Croner for some of his conversation about these goals as well. How closely they line up with some of the initiatives that we are proposing to work on and developing our resources to accomplish. So our 3 main buckets are to grow workforce by focusing on workforce development, talent attraction, business retention and expansion, and attraction of new businesses. And of course, that includes prioritizing the West Burlington Industrial Park and partnering with the City of West Burlington on bringing some new answers to the Westland Mall campus. Our second bucket of initiatives is under Grow Business. We've been paraphrasing it with a Make Cash Registers Ring in Greater Burlington, and that encompasses a number of initiatives that are about shop local, tourism enhancement, looking at business mix and infilling with what kind of businesses aren't here that would help encourage people to stay here for their shopping, as well as continue to market our area as a regional shopping hub to the smaller communities around us. We also want to work on growing local events, expanding tourism, and enhancing attractions. And then our third initiative falls under that category of growing our population. We understand that housing is a key and critical component for the future health and success of Burlington and West Burlington, and attracting population through quality of life improvements and marketing is another important initiative, which aligns closely with your economic development, housing, and quality of life priorities that your council has adopted. We have been approaching businesses and organizations over the last couple of months, and this is simply an overview, and this has changed and expanded significantly since this slide was done, of the number of businesses and organizations that are investing in these new 5-year priorities. And we would like to add West Burlington to our growing list. I want to thank you for your past investment, and I want to take a moment to see if you have any questions for me or if there's anything that Jeremy Hess wants to add before I wrap up our comments.
I got one. When it says Grow Greater Burlington, why is it been Grow Greater Burlington and not Grow Greater Burlington, West Burlington? That has always been something that I've...
Grow Greater Burlington is the corporate name of the Economic Development Division. So it's just a registered legal name of, so most people don't know, they just call us the Chamber, or they'll say it's the Economic Development Division. Well, the Economic Development Division has a corporate entity and a name that's called Grow Greater Burlington. It was redone from a Burlington Area Development Company, which spelled Badco, which was a kind of a not a great thing to put in magazines, and Badco was not a good thing. So anyway, Grow Greater Burlington was decided some many years ago. I don't know the reason.
It was around 2003, 2004. We went through an engagement process. The firm was hired, and we basically went through a whole planning process that the chamber and the firm put together, met with numerous businesses, had several meetings, and ultimately that was the name that came out of that process. 2003, 2004 when when we put that together, I believe, somewhere around there.
I was in grade school, so I was.
Yeah. I was here.
And just to clarify, there's flyers out there, and there's all kinds of stuff that says Grow Greater Burlington, and it's all over, and it would be, if somebody picked up one of them flyers and they had West Burlington, or, it would just be like everything was included. When you go to the hospital, you pick up a flyer, it Grow Greater Burlington. When you go to Walmart, it Grow Greater Burlington. It just doesn't seem quite right to me, but I just was wondering.
I have kind of a specific question. Obviously, we've met about this several times, and I've been on one of the committees and so forth. But as we kind of look at our goals, one of our immediate goals is kind of a community survey, and I know that the one you're discussing, you're planning to do annually for the next 5 years here. Would it be possible, as we kind of have that same exact goal and that same thing we're working on, that is that something we could piggyback on to get that back and only have West Burlington residents and the full data of that survey? So basically, we weren't double dipping.
It certainly sounds feasible and something that we can explore. At this point in time, I don't know why we wouldn't be able to do that on your behalf. And thank you for bringing that point out. So our vision is to do a survey in the first quarter of 2024 as a benchmark, because as you have also indicated in your goals, we all want to create a great sense of identity, a great sense of community for West Burlington and for Burlington. We want our residents and our business owners to feel proud about this area and proud about all of the great amenities and the things that are happening here. And we have a number of strategies I won't have time to go into this evening, but I'm happy to meet with any of you individually or come back another time. But we have a number of strategies planned over the next 5 years to engage folks in some fun competitions and do some fun social media and some advertising and some other event type of things to elevate and raise that sense of community and that sense of community pride. But how do you measure whether you've moved the needle on that, right? You can say, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. I like to say to my team at the office, can we answer the so what question? So we did that, so what? So we'd like to conduct a survey in early 2024 that gives us a benchmark, and then conduct an annual survey every year after that for 4 years to see if we can move the needle through some of our community engagement efforts. So viewing through that to see if we can pull out some West Burlington specific data or questions, I think is something we can absolutely explore and see if we can figure out how to make that happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Grab the mic here just a second. One of the things that I want to add is that in this next 5 years, there's a couple of things that you're going to be seeing me a lot, or we've got work to do. So the West Burlington Business Park, Industrial Park over here where the Raider Complex is. So we own 32 acres of ground out there. There's another 32 acres that are sitting right across, adjacent to it, owned by Food Liner, that we need to start figuring out. I've got 2 lots in the Flint Ridge Business Park left, 2 large lots for an industrial user. We need more. If you don't have sites, you don't have anything. We've got to have a place for people to land. And I know we've got to wrestle through, do we build it first, or but I'm telling you that a business is not going to locate there if there isn't infrastructure and a road, and I can't even sell lots if there isn't an actual public streets through there. But I envision, and it's going to be my goal for the next 5 years, to see that we have just a beautiful West Burlington Industrial Park that's right across the road over here that we can begin to see investment come in and jobs created. The other thing too is we're beginning our entrepreneurial competition again this year. This year it's open for anybody to do any idea that they want to do, and we've got some money, prize money, but probably more importantly is the advice and the coaching that they get. But I see in years ahead where we sit together as I hear input from you as to what is West Burlington missing? What's the business that we would like to see come into town, and pitch a competition where it's just open to that category for that year. And so we've got a lot of work to do in the future, and I appreciate working with Greg and with everybody, but we've got more to do, and I think there's a lot of momentum in our community, in our region. And I say that too because, I understand your point, sir, John, about the name West Burlington and Burlington and so forth. And as I work with our counterparts in Lee County, we do things together as a region. We have a regional website. Whenever a business comes to town that is interested in a site or a building, we put all of our best sites together, whether that's in Lee County or Burlington or West Burlington or Henry County. Because if we give them 5 choices to choose from, then they have more options to not say no to. And so we're going to do that with you in the future, and that's just a part of, we all live as a region, and I understand your point, sure, but when the fertilizer plant came, it didn't land in Des Moines County, it landed in Lee County, but it benefited all of us during that time. So anyway, thanks for letting me share that with you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. But once again, like when you're talking about John and Debbie, and if you always say John, like Debbie's left out, okay? Yeah. And that's what I'm resting my case on. If you're really together and you're a partner and stuff, you advertise as both. You advertise as a community, and it just doesn't appear to the guy outside. It's just Burlington because it's only Burlington mentioned. Just throwing that out there. Okay.
So, Councilman Johnson, I am excited to share something with you that maybe will begin to address that, because we have heard and we are attempting to make some changes. How many of you are familiar with the community guide that the Greater Burlington Partnership produces every year? Usually comes out in December, January, has a lot of community and business information in it. Well, we're making a major change, and this is done. This isn't we're thinking about it, this is happening. We are splitting that guide into 2 separate and distinct publications. We will have a tourism publication that will be just about targeting the tourist. Because the truth is, if you're a tourist on vacation, or you're thinking about taking a vacation or a long weekend, you probably aren't as interested in information about the local dentist or the local lawyer or the local,
Exactly.
right? Because it's a community thing. So we're going to separate that and put content and advertising in one publication that is target marketing to tourism. And we are going to be producing in the spring of 2024 a new community guide that will address the relocation opportunities, the quality of life, the amenities through that lens. And I believe that through that, we will be able to create some clear distinctions of, we are Greater Burlington, but we are a West Burlington and a Burlington. I am a Mrs. Schmidt, and there is a Mr. Schmidt that's part of that equation, to your point. And so I look forward to engaging members of this council as we move through that process. But that is a major change for us, to take one publication that has been a traditional document for a number of years. I've gone to the filing cabinet, I've seen how many copies back it goes, and these will have entirely new look, entirely new content, and will be 2 distinct separate publications. And I believe that we'll start to address some of the things that you're asking for.
That was going to be my next question. Thank you.
And Greg, I talked to Phoenix Investment Group, and they're willing to play ball with you on that strip of ground that's around that building to help with.
They'd like to keep it, but they're willing to work with us on stormwater. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Same question that I'd asked before. The mall. I'm a firm believer in vibrant downtowns, and without vibrant downtowns, you don't have vibrant communities. In our case, and support everything that's going on downtown, in our case, we have a mall in an area of town that has not seen much development since it first opened up, other than the American and the mall. I think it's important enough to be listed out specifically in this program. We've had those conversations before. Mixed-use development, there's all kinds of opportunities for that. Grant opportunities, Iowa Reinvestment District, and some of the other programs that are out there. But it's an area that can be that can complement the work that's going on in the downtown and benefit, again, both communities. But with perhaps a different feel or a different concept, mixed use perhaps, residential, commercial, housing, all kinds of opportunities that you could do that, and that's also where the trail is going. I really think it deserves to be in this plan of action and listed out specifically in addition to the downtown.
I appreciate that feedback. You're right, we've had that conversation many times. It's interesting because we've had many appointments recently with a lot of potential investors, and there have been a number of important projects and good recommendations that have come out of those meetings that aren't necessarily detailed in this document. I'll pick on Burlington for a minute and say that we have many people who say, why don't you have more in this document about the Mississippi River, the riverfront, that whole area? Your document doesn't speak specifically to that. We have a number of buildings in both Burlington and West Burlington that are ripe for rehabilitation and reuse. And we see our jobs as being partners in all of that. And you and I have had many conversations. We understand that the mall is, that campus, the areas around it, is important for our region and for the future economic health of West Burlington. And we are ready, willing, and able to partner with West Burlington and to meet with any potential buyer or investor or multi-use there, whether we put it in a document or not. But I can certainly take your comments back to our volunteer leadership and see what we can do to massage our document even further. But whether in writing or not in writing, there's a lot of unknowns, opportunities and challenges in the next 5 years. And when you invest in the Greater Burlington Partnership, you're investing in the only business organization whose sole focus is to work to create an environment where our communities and our businesses can prosper. That's what we do. And we do our best to capture our vision and our ideas, but I don't have a crystal ball as to what things might come up. After we did all the work on this, which took over a year, the Iowa Army Ammunition Plant announced their big expansion, and we looked through these pages and said, well, there's nothing in here that talks about what are we going to do in response to that. I don't know what other things may come up in the next 5 years, but we're light on our feet, we're nimble, we have resources and talents at our disposal, and we know how to get to work. This guy knows how to get to work and deliver, and he's proven that over and over and over again. So we look forward to coming alongside you, Greg, and council members, not only on the Westland Mall issue, but the industrial park, housing, connecting your trails so that they go other places in Greater Burlington and Des Moines County, All of those things are part of a healthy economic plan moving forward. So we really want to say thank you for your time. Did you have another question for me,
I just
Andy?
wanted to talk funding for just a minute. So,
Yes.
If council were to approve some type of funding for this investment, we could split that over a 5-year pay period?
Yes, sir. So our request for your consideration is $50,000 over 5 years, so that'd be $10,000 a year. It would be in 2024. And the timing of that would be at your direction or discretion.
So that's increased from 25,000 that we paid previous?
Correct. Our request is for an increase. That is for your consideration. As we all know, the cost of everything has gone up, and our ability to market, our ability to work on all the initiatives that are detailed within this document comes with a price tag. One of the other things that I'll take a moment to point out is contained within the booklet that you have. We didn't put that up on the screen, but contained in that booklet that you have represents $400,000 in proposed new first-time initiatives and spending. These are not sustaining dollars. These are not, we're not asking for dollars to just keep the partnership whole or to have us as an organization do what we've always done. We are proposing new initiatives, new programs, new projects, which means we've had to take other things and either take them out or find other ways to deliver them, find other homes for them. So I think it's important when we talk about investing, we're not asking to just invest from a standpoint of being a sustaining partner or investor. We're asking you to invest in, let's do some new things to solve ongoing or new challenges and opportunities. Well, thank you so very much for your time this evening. We appreciate it. Jeremy or myself, I'm available to anybody who would like to send us an email if you have clarifying questions, if you need us to come back. Thank you so much for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go Big Red.
Go Hawks.
Our second item of new business is considering a resolution approving a letter of understanding with the Communication Workers of America.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. Call for, well, any discussion on this?
This is just formalizing the action that we took at the last meeting.
Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to our next item. Consider a resolution hiring Mark Crooks as a building inspector.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Newberry.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 4, consider resolution entering into a memorandum of understanding with the Iowa Department of Revenue regarding the city's participation in the Iowa Set-Off Program.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
Can you give the 30-second rundown of, I've read through all this, but give me the why?
This allows the state to collect funds on our behalf for various programs. We use it mainly for utility collection. Other cities use it for traffic camera collection and other fines and fees that can be collected. At the state level, they have to pay their taxes, they have to pay the fines and fees before they receive their tax refund from the state.
And it's a different program than what we've been using, right?
No, it's just a re-up of the program. The question is the name or the title of it. It's historically been called the offset program, and they use both terminology. They have set-off program noted in these documents, but historically it's been called the offset program.
They're changing departments or doing a lot of rearranging of departments at the state level, so there's a lot of processes and programs that are being tweaked.
Rearranged.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having a motion and a second, call for a roll call on this.
Young,
Aye.
Newberry,
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Motion carries. Our last item of business is consider participation in continued fundraising to implement a K-9 officer program for the West Burlington Police Department.
I'll just kind of kick things off here. We wanted, as we indicated before, we wanted to bring a little bit of additional information back to the council. We'd like to proceed with this program and fundraising for this program. We've included copies of a prior presentation from the city of Burlington. Also, a more comparable community, Iowa Falls, started a K-9 program last fall, raised $45,000 in, was it July to October, I believe it was?
Yeah.
In their community to kick off their K-9 program as well. We're not going to run through all of these slides. Happy to answer questions, but I did ask, I thought we should focus on a couple of the items specifically in here as well. But on the when training is completed piece, kind of gives you an idea of the work that this drug dog or canine would be doing. I don't know if there's anything specific you want to point out, Jesse, but these are, I mean, this canine would be designed for detection of illegal narcotics, tracking, and suspect apprehension, exactly the same program that Iowa Falls is using it for. In my experience, I've found it to be an invaluable tool to the police department and the community and its officers. Would have been handy in several incidents that I can think of here in recent history as well. Anything you want to point out?
Yeah, the other thing that has kind of changed law enforcement was over the last few years was the U.S. Supreme Court Arizona versus Grant in reference to officers doing searching vehicles after arresting the suspect, and now we can use the K-9 to assist on getting probable cause to get inside the vehicles to do a search of the vehicles. Even if we arrest somebody with impaired driving, OWI, or drug, we still can't search the vehicle for drugs anymore, so we can use the open air for the K-9 is one of the big things that we use that for. And just the overall efficiency of the dog in reference to searching homes, you know, searching for lost individuals. We go, if it's just manpower, we do grid section searching, which is a very time consuming and very large amount of manpower, to an open air sniff what the dog can focus on. If there's an article of clothing that has the scent of the person we're tracking on, they can hound on that scent, and their cone is very small compared to us, or you know, trying to apprehend suspects and searching for lost or children, adults. So there's a lot of uses. That was, you know, a lot of what I put in my presentation was what Iowa Falls had in their presentation. Very similar work, and it's along with what Burlington and Sheriff's Department and everybody else has.
The intent, like Iowa Falls, is for this to be an initial fundraising effort and an ongoing fundraising effort. The main cost, I guess if you call it, to the city would be potentially for overtime. The dog would operate with its handler during the 3 to 11 shift, and where our highest level of activity happens during that 3 to 11 shift. So they'll already be on duty. So the potential, I guess, cost for the city would be overtime. And, you know, as we were talking, you know, before the meeting, when we're calling in officers on overtime, it's usually for an event where we're already going to be calling those officers in for overtime, whether or not we had a canine within our department or not. I can the pool incident, the Pat Klein Park incident, for example, all hands on deck, and that would be the same case here. This just simply provides another tool that certainly would have been handy and effective in both of those cases or examples.
So if you call an officer out off of his shift, what's the normal time period by the time he goes and goes around the car, does a sniffing, whatever, and then you get the report done, because I'm sure he has to do that report also. Is it 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? Is it half a day that one stop is going to cost us?
If the dog is not on scene or on duty, we're not going to call. If we have a traffic stop and we believe narcotics is involved, we're not going to call him in off duty to perform that specific traffic stop. We do have other dogs working in the county, so we would try to see if that's available, but we're not going to specifically call in somebody, our canine officer, if they're off duty on a very rarely occasion, because we still have rules and regulations we have to follow in reference to how long we can detain somebody and have a traffic stop and detain you. We have to follow rules and regulations of how long we can be there, and calling somebody in off duty to perform an open air sniff around your vehicle is not going to happen. So we're talking more cases of calling somebody in off duty would be the lost or missing children or adults. There was a car chase not too long ago where our vehicle was rammed over there by West Burlington Avenue and Van Wees, and that suspect was involved in an accident, and there was a report of him having a gun, and when he wrecked the vehicle, he pointed a gun at an officer, and we ended up calling in the county canine officer to assist with that, and he was over a half hour away before he was able to get there. He was showing up when we were able to the guy finally through negotiations gave up and gave up on that time. So it's not one of those things that we're going to call him in every time we deal with the drug stop, but it's just another tool that we use quite often.
So if you did though, how long would that?
It would be the minimal 2 hours.
He can do the report and do the search thing and all
Yep.
that in a couple hours?
Yeah.
Well, that's the minimum under the contract, 2 hour callback for under the contract.
I see.
But again, 3 to 11 is going to be your busiest shift, which is what we intend to put the canine officer on, and that's where you're going to have most of your traffic anyways during that shift. So.
Burlington has one dog. They're getting a second dog, and both of those dogs are they work 12-hour shifts. So Burlington's dogs will be working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So night shift will be covered by their dogs, and then the county has one canine officer working too, and he typically works second shift also. But under my discretion, I can't adjust hours for all shifts, and with that canine officer, I spoke with both applicants, and they're both understand that their shifts will change from, like, you know, they may work 11 to 7 or 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. It just depends how manpower and things are going. So, and good thing about it, like in this packet, Officer Beckman with the Burlington Police Department has agreed. He's a trainer through the company that we're buying the dog through. He's a trainer for that company, so we'll be able to do a lot of training in-house or in the community. That'll cut way down on other issues.
And the police officer that's going to be with the canine will still be able to do his regular duties
Yep.
throughout the day.
Yep.
It's not like he's just going to wait for something from the dog.
Nope,
be
he'll
doing
still answer all the calls. The way we can set up the car, he can still transport prisoners if he arrests somebody. The cage is split, so there's still he'll still be able to transport prisoners. It'll be 100%. What he does now will be what he'll be doing with the dog. He'll just have a partner. Instead of having a human partner with him, he'll just have his canine partner with him.
A little faster, better nose, good for tracking.
The only other thing that he would be required to do would be presentations. You know, we do a presentation for city council, we do presentations at the school, but again, that'd be things that we just adjust hours for their shift that day.
Just,
If this dog's main purpose is tracking people and narcotics, the same dog able to do like public relations stuff? Is the same animal you're able to take in a crowd and introduce to kids or people? And
It's kind of how the dog is. We can still do all presentations and all that, but some dogs may allow them to come up and pet them, and other dogs we may not. It just kind of just depends how the dog is.
It really does. So we would do community presentations irregardless
Yes.
of the dog. It would just be modified to meet the dog's
Temperament of the-
personality.
Temperament, yeah.
We'll say. I've had dogs that are excellent in a public setting, and kids can come up with him, and engage with the dog. I've had dogs where we keep them at a distance from the dog, but still do the presentation for the public or the community, the kids, whatever it might be. It's just ultimately it's going to depend on the dog and its personality.
Like last year at the Touch the Truck event that we had at Westland Mall, Des Moines County Sheriff's Department canine officer was out there, and their dog, he was sitting on the mat, and people were able to come up, talk with the deputy, and then the deputy would allow him or her to pet the dog, and it would, be just fine with that. So just kind of, we don't know that answer until we get the canine.
So the life expectancy of the dog on the force. Not the
Typical
life expectancy, but the expectancy.
working is
Working,
typical about 6 to 8 years.
6 to 8 years.
They typically retire with the officer, their handler, into their home. That's where the kennel is. They've been with them for that time period. When they retire, they typically retire with the officer or the handler that's had them for that 6 or 8 years.
Would you talk to us a little bit about what will happen if that officer that trains is no longer with the department?
Yeah, they're able to, most typically, they're able to get a new handler within the department to continue with the dog. There's a little bit of transition, a little bit more training that officer would have to do to learn the dog, but they are majority of the time, they're able to reuse that dog for another handler. And I spoke with both officers during the interview process and telling them, life changes, ideas changes, whatever. You just never know what happens, but they're both very committed into this, and both officers be very good at doing this. I just got to make the tough decision to decide.
It's going to be a very difficult decision. Do we have a time frame on that, as we would no longer wish to swap the handler? Let's say they've been together 5 years. Is it no longer worth to try to change? I mean, are we thinking that way at all?
I would have to talk with the handler about that, but with the 6 to 8 years is what typically a dog, so I would feel after 5 years that it may not be a good idea or a good chance, but I'd have to find that one answer out on that.
It's going to depend on the dog.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll give Gordy as an example. He was originally placed with someone else. That person died, and he obviously has had no problems adjusting. Now, if something were to happen now, I'm not sure he could make that adjustment.
Yeah, I understand.
just
Unfortunately, there's no
wanna-
easy answer for you, because
Right.
a lot of times it depend on the dog.
I don't want a perfect answer. I want a conversation that we're thinking about
The,
everything we can.
And I have a personal preference on the dog. The German Shepherds and the Belgian Malinois are the two most common dogs. German Shepherds have more health problems, and my recent, the recent dogs I've worked with are the Belgian Malinois. They're smaller, they're just as tough, they got just as good of a bite, but they don't have the health issues that the German Shepherds have. I guess we'll have to see what availability is as well, though, but.
One last question. Do we get any kind of meet and greet, temperament kind of a pick that, you know, we think this will work well? Do we get to interact with the officer, with the dog before training starts? Those kind of things, because there has to be a connection there.
That has been going on. One of the officers has been helping Officer Beckman with there's a current class that just started, and Officer Beckman has been working with 3 or 4 dogs, and Officer Minnan is one of the officers that's interested, along with Officer Billings. Officer Minnan's been helping Officer Beckman with Burlington train the dogs, and it has been going very well, and one dog in particular, they've been working together quite a bit here over the last 3 weeks, and it's been working well with Officer Minnan.
Thank you.
And that dog is still available. Nobody picked it up this last class this week, so that dog will be available in November when the next training is available.
German or Belgian?
Belgium, I do believe.
And not all German Shepherds have that issue. It's just something that's happened with the breed over a period of years. So,
Can you break down some of the cost for me? I see estimated cost 35 to 40,000, and it says initial and ongoing. So how much of that is initial versus?
Initial is the $30,000 mark. That's buying the dog, the training, all the initial setup with the vehicle.
vest?
The vest is a different part of it. That's additional after that. The vest was through this company. And then like some of the other costs would be, the vest, dog food, vet bills, the kennel at home, some training props that we may have to purchase. And some of that's the more continuous cost that we would have from year to year after the initial $30,000.
How much of that 30,000 is training?
I don't have that paperwork with me, but it's 2 or 4 weeks worth of training. So, and that's also purchasing the dog along with the training. So,
I guess what I was thinking was more of your question of if we lose that officer, how much is it to get a new officer trained and up to speed?
I believe Officer Beckman would be able to do most of that training here with whatever the cost would be, but it'd be local training, not traveling back to Ohio with
Maybe $10,000 to $12,000 for the training with some of the out-of-state organizations. If my memory serves me correct, I want to say. Does that sound right? Or close?
Yeah.
So I assume we'd have not only the cost of the training, but also paying the hours that the officer is gone, right?
Yes.
The intent would be to raise funds for all of that. Vet bills, food, and one other item, I can't think what it was, are often donated by local companies. Haven't had to budget for that in recent history that I recall. A lot of people step up. Popular program, again, the Iowa Falls Sergeant, essentially on his own, raised $45,000 in just a very short amount of time in their community. It was a very popular program, and community jumped on board.
So this the initial 30K, what do we think city out-of-pocket's going to be?
I'm hoping nothing.
The only would be a 2 weeks of salary pay for the officer that's already scheduled to work, and then the getting his transportation driving out to Ohio and back. And the only other thing I would have to check to see if we'd probably have to pay room and board for the officer that would be out there. But again, some of that, if everything works out, some of that could be covered also through donations because that's what the implementation that I wanted was, that it covered. I told the officers that I was for it, and like I told you, I wanted everything that was covered to be covered under the fundraising, so.
So does the city insurance go up any because you have a dog?
What's it,
$40.
Does the city insurance go up because of a liability of the dog?
$40
Is that what it does?
for the year. Okay, thanks.
Is there any, going off of what Greg said, is there any vets that have stepped up with the Burlington dog to offer those services or those things yet? Do we know about that?
I don't personally know. Do you?
For, like,
He said that often those services are volunteered.
Oh,
Is that
like-
happening in Burlington?
yes, like dog food and all that.
Right,
Yes,
and,
yes,
okay.
yep,
I just, if it's our community, I want to,
yep.
I've told them a story before, but we had another community, we had a canine, and it was shot through the mouth. And thought they were gonna have to retire it. Local dentist, human dentist, actually repaired the jaw, and the bite came back, donated all of his services. That happened on a suspect, or on a chase. Dog tracked the individual down and, supported, saved the officer as well. But the human dentist stepped up and was able to repair the jaw and repair in such a fashion as the bite came back. So it was pretty cool.
Well, so much for volunteering my puppies, so no, yeah, forget it. No.
So what are we actually voting on tonight?
We'd like to proceed with trying to secure funds. For the K-9 program, there was one item, and that was the training that you said was coming up.
In
That you
November.
would like to proceed with in November. But obviously, they want to kickstart the program, put it in high gear. They've started a little low-key, and then see what we can get done. But you're going to have to sign up for that program in October.
Yes. The training.
So that's the only immediate need, and that would be coming forward. But I'm hoping if we can kick this into high gear, we'll see what we get. Again, July to October, they raised $45,000.
And right now, from July 4th, kind of when they low-key started, they're at $6,995 so far. And there's a presentation that they need to give here in the next couple weeks to a local organization that committed up to $5,000 on top of what we have already, so.
So what I'm hearing is we're voting to say we're in support of the program in general and continued fundraising.
Yes.
And we'd like to send them to the training program, assuming we have funds to cover it in November, but it sounds like we're already there.
So we're basically agreeing to.
Put the program in place based on community fundraising to cover the cost of the program.
I would entertain a motion to do that.
Support.
I didn't get a motion.
Yeah,
I would
I motion that we, thank you, I motion that we support the K-9 program, commit to funding the November training at a minimum, and finally, the long-term K-9 program, fundraising the program and the training for the program.
Support.
In November.
Okay, a motion support.
And we will continue throughout the years, like Burlington Sheriff's Department, do a annual golf tournament to help fund their dog K-9 program to get as much money funded that way. So we would start something on our own or see what we can do with that, so.
Sergeant in Iowa Falls had several successful fundraising projects that he indicated to us as well that could be copy and pasted.
Sounds like you need to fire up the grill and sell hot dogs.
There we go. Or what was it that you had at the swimming pool? It was such a good swim raiser.
Dippin' Dogs?
Dippin' Dots.
Yeah, except we'll do Dippin' Dogs.
Dippin' Dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Here, who seconded, I'm sorry.
Kathy did.
Kathy did, yeah. Motion carries. And that's our last item of business, looks like, because I don't think we have old business. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. We are adjourned.